So there have been storms that have spun the same, like first of all, the same different directions in the same hemisphere. Second, you got the storm sometimes rotating like clockwise in one hemisphere, but in the same hemisphere you got a whirlpool rotating counterclockwise.
The one that hit Louisiana and the one after that hit Florida, wasn't those the ones that were having problems with the radar and they were also spinning both ways? If I remember right, I could be wrong. I'm just asking a question right now. Damn.
You're just excusing it because it doesn't match your model.
They only spin one way in the northern hemisphere.
Yeah, that's what the mainstream says. That's what mainstream says. Have you actually spent time on weather data and looked at hurricanes and stuff like that?
Let's make it let's just bring it down to something very simple. Why is it that when you look up in the night sky in the northern hemisphere, the stars rotate counterclockwise, and in the southern hemisphere they rotate clockwise? Explain that on your pizza.
I'll take this one. I'll take this one. I love this argument actually,
Explain
and
that on your pizza land.
I struggled on this for a while because
keep struggling.
Flat earthers have said, "Oh no, it's just direction, counterclockwise versus
not
clockwise."
Direction.
Yeah, it's not. I'll actually steelman your argument for you. The argument is when you look at when you're in the northern hemisphere, you see one rotation rotating a certain direction. Then you go south. Then there's another. Then even if you go to Australia, or South America or Africa, and you're all looking south, you see the same stars rotating around a central point when you're looking different directions, and that does not work with one star field going all the same direction. So what actually, I struggled on this for a while, but
it doesn't matter which way you're looking.
South.
Do you have a link to your channel, Word Salad?
It's called Shifting the Goalpost.
No, I want to hear this guy's explanation.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually post on this, but I actually think that the southern stars are reflections of the northern stars because I first scoffed at the idea. Then I looked at it. You can actually take the southern stars, mirror them, and overlay them with the northern stars.
Okay, hold on a second. You can't. It's not a reflection because there's different stars that you can have in the southern hemisphere that you cannot see in the northern hemisphere, such as the Southern Cross, which you cannot see.
The Southern Cross, if you take it and put it in a 3D grid and rotate it towards yourself, it turns into the constellation Cassiopeia if you rotate it towards yourself.
You're on fucking blotter acid, dude. Okay, I said a simple thing. You're in the northern hemisphere, the stars rotate counterclockwise. You're in the southern hemisphere, they rotate clockwise. That cannot happen on a flat Earth. It's impossible.
If you have... think about a fan on your ceiling, okay?
Yeah, okay, that's a great example. I'm glad you brought up a fan on my ceiling.
Okay, now listen. You got a fan on your ceiling, then you have a window or something like that, some sort of reflection thing on your wall. If you look at that, it's going to rotate the opposite direction, but it's going to be mirrored.
What window is in the... What are you talking... What window? I'm talking about the sky.
The firmament.
There's no firmament. Where is it? No one's seen it. No one's touched it. It's not. Where is it?
Yeah, look up Operation Dominic and Operation Fishbowl.
Oh God, dude,
Just look them up.
It's like the bottom of the barrel. It's like thousands of years of the most brilliant minds in the history of the world versus it doesn't make sense.
No, you're the one saying I basically said you can overlay the northern stars with the southern stars.
Overlaying.
If you rotate take a video from the northern hemisphere, mirror it, so you're gonna flip it and rotate it 180 degrees, and you can overlay it with the video of the southern stars rotating, and it's a bit skewed, but it matches the same. And also, you can take the constellation Cassiopeia in the northern hemisphere, and the constellation the Southern Cross. They're in the same relative place in their hemispheres, close to the central point of rotation. And you can take Cassiopeia, put it in a 3D grid, rotate it towards yourself, and it turns into the Southern Cross. Coincidence? I think not.
I have no idea what you're saying. It doesn't make any sense. And
you're saying
You're saying there's a glass dome over the Earth?
No, not a glass dome.
Well, what is it then?
The Bible describes the sky as being strong and as a reflective glass.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Okay, you don't like... You just swore... You just used Jesus' name in vain. That's wrong to do.
Just a little bit.
What's your model?
Stop yelling at people. Stop yelling at people.
What's your model?
Not demanding shit. Just
What's your model then?
Until we explore the Earth, without the means of the previous tools used for exploration, you don't have a model.
So you don't have a model.
Oh yeah, falsification is independent of replacement, as I keep telling you.
Stop it! You sound like a fucking Austin Witch.
Can you not interrupt people in the middle of their sentences, dude?
You guys don't even have a model.
I'm gonna scream over everybody again.
Earth doesn't have a model.
I have a model. She's my wife. I have a model. The flat Earth model.
Yeah, like I said, dude. Until you explore the entire Earth on your own terms, we
have explored.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of a sentence.
Yeah, Robert, please don't interrupt.
Gio, I can't. These people are stupid. I'm sorry.
Well, then we're
all right. Then maybe you don't belong here.
Ad hom and interrupt, because you cannot ad hom and interrupt. You cannot insult and interrupt here. Okay, so we'll leave you on mute if you can't handle yourself. If you can, then we'll leave you off mute, and then you can be in the combo. Go ahead, Electric.
Right on, dude. Yeah, until I am able to entirely explore what they claim is the entire surface of the Earth, until I can confirm that is the finiteness and the parameters of the Earth, I don't have to say I have a model. What are you talking about?
Can I say something?
The whole point in contention is that their maps are inaccurate, which there is evidence.
Can I say something?
The whole point in contention is that their maps are inaccurate, which there is evidence.
Yeah. Can I talk now?
Mm-hmm. Hey, yeah, go ahead, dude.
Because we've explored the entire globe. We know every inch of the Earth. It's been proven, but you guys don't want to accept it.
That's a baseless assertion. So when I say that we are not free to actually confirm the claims made on the entire supposed surface, that's true, dude. I am not allowed to confirm certain locations on Earth right now.
That's not true.
So until I can, I'm not willing to just blindly believe it like a NASA globber. Yep.
Excuse me. You can go wherever you want to go. All you need is money. It's not my fault that you live in your mom's basement and you don't leave your house. You can go wherever you want.
Don't live in our
dude, it definitely takes more than just money. You need to get approval and a permit. You need the means of transportation, and you have to have like a whole. Dude, what are you talking about? All you need is money. You're delusional.
Okay, so I falsified the globe with the radio waves, and you didn't have an answer to that.
Yeah, no, you can't, because
this space. So then you are not for this space, dude. This is where this is in contention. If you're just going to keep starting blatantly screaming out, "Oh, it's been done already," that's not an argument.
It has been done already. You just don't believe it.
You're just doing it again, dude.
You guys said that the 24-hour sun doesn't exist in Antarctica, and then we showed it.
I don't think you understand anything.
No, you don't understand.
Why are you in this conversation? Why do you even?
You said, Eric. You sound like Eric Dubé, Dave Weiss, and all these other idiots. They all said no one can travel to Antarctica. It's protected. No one can go there. And the 24-hour sun doesn't ever work. It doesn't exist in Antarctica. But now that you guys have actually didn't believe the videos before, now that we actually have videos of the sun in Antarctica from your own flat earthers that have now converted to globe people, now you want to say, oh, well, now you can't travel around freely.
I think it's pretty disingenuous to say all that because, first of all, not everybody said or thought that, first of all. Secondly, not everybody converted to globers. Whitsitt is not a glober. Jaron lost his mind, but other than that, nobody else flipped.
Oh, yeah, a lot of people flipped.
And it's definitely not the case that everybody said all those things you just said. So those are like broad generalizations. It's pretty fallacious. I know you're trying to like slander a whole group of people that apparently you have confliction with in your mind, but it's just not fair in an actual discussion to just claim that anyone in here is saying any of those things.
Well, then what is your position then? What is the position? No one says their position.
Everybody has their own position, so who are you asking?
Well, how many positions can there be? There's only one world.
Yeah, there's a million positions on religion, on what the earth is.
No. Don't talk about religion, dude. Religion's got nothing to do with this. What is the flat earth model? I'm still waiting for someone to tell me what it is.
Dude, the idea of a stationary planar earth goes back since the dawn of time. It's the most ancient cosmology from the beginning of time. Currently, we're told it's a globe earth. There also is the phrase flat earth that has been linked to certain things in the modern era. So you'd have to define what you're referring to. You just seem to try to loop everyone into something about an Eric Dubé, which I guess you're a big fan of his work. I don't know.
I'm not a big fan of that moron. We're not been told that the earth is round. We know the earth is round. Okay? We've known the earth is round since the 15th century.
All right. Well, you seem conflicted about it because you're here debating raucously about it. So something's going on.
No, because I just don't understand. I say one thing and you guys say that's not my position. So what is your position?
Yeah, dude. I imagine you're like all the way leaned out of your chair about it right now.
No, I'm not. I'm not leaning out of a chair. Actually, I'm laying down. But I just want to know what your position is.
Okay, who are you asking? I mean, I know you're excited. We're all excited. It's exciting that the Earth's not a globe.
Frustrating.
There's a lot more to discover.
Frustrating. No, we've discovered the whole globe, but you guys don't believe it. I told Electric, we've already traversed Antarctica. We've already mapped out the whole continent, but he doesn't believe it. So what?
And you verified all that, right?
I would like
verified
to
all that.
Yeah.
What?
I've posted a link to the British Antarctic Survey, which has got loads of archaic records of aerial photography and land survey stuff.
But they don't believe it.
Huge chunks of it. The coast. They all know the coast.
Like you, dude.
Sure.
But all that aerial photography in Google Maps is still digitized to hell.
No, we're not talking about Google Maps. I'm talking about stuff that goes back to the 1920s. And
they really did take aerial photographs of Antarctica. Why is Google Earth completely
what I was going to say
doesn't?
Clearly, what I was going to say doesn't matter. Does it, Electric?
It doesn't matter because they don't believe it.
No, it doesn't.
No matter what, they don't believe it.
We
don't need to believe anything. We need to see the fucking truth.
Searching for aerial and ground surveying records for Antarctica is a bit like searching for photographs of the midnight of Antarctica and saying, because there was a long time, it wasn't that long ago that you couldn't find any real evidence to the midnight sun, and then all of a sudden, as we got close to the final experiment, oh look, things started popping up on blogs, people started searching, and now nobody thinks the midnight sun's not a real thing anymore. But go and pursue the same fastidious endeavor and looking through the historical record of people who've actually mapped the bloody thing out.
Dude, all of those things you just said are not true. So first of all, there was very little evidence of the 24-hour sun in 2015.
Why do you think?
Who's interrupting me? Do I have
I'm
to
sorry,
just
Gio, but why do you think there's?
All right, I'm just going to mute this guy so I can speak. Anyways, Paz, my response was that what you just said is not the case. I mean, there was very limited access to the 24-hour sun. The first video that ever claims to have existed of it in Antarctica was in 2014. First one ever in the history of humanity that ever exists is 2014. 2015, there was one more. 2016, there was one more. 2017, there was about one a year. So there was very little at the beginning. And then at 2019, 2020, 21, there did start to be a profusion of more footage of it. So that is the case.
That may be the case, but there's been records and anecdotal records and blogs of people going down to see eclipses, going down to study things. And like I said, if you really want to go and look for this, I'd encourage anyone to go and actually look at the British Antarctic Survey website, and you can go down, get the reference numbers, and I'm sure you can find all the surveys of all the different parts they've been to suggest that we don't know what it's down there, or some of it hasn't been trodden on. That's true. Some of it hasn't been traversed across. You can't. It's vast. And vast waves of it are just an ice desert. So what? We have some predominant understanding we have an understanding of some predominant features of it, okay? And one of them is the length of the coastline.
Well, I'm not. Whoever's contesting that, you have to direct that to. I was responding to the other things you said about the rollout of the footage. And by the way, I was the one who found the only 24-hour footage from Union Glacier. Me individually was the only one who found it that existed of 24-hour sun footage from Union Glacier. From it was at the very end of a skydiving video, a skydiving company. The company only had like 600 subscribers on the channel, and it was at the very end of this video, and it took me hours and hours and hours after weeks of searching for footage to where I found it. So I was the one who did it.
I know. I was here when you did it.
Can I say something, Gio, please? Am I able to speak?
Yeah, go ahead, man. No, dude, when it's your turn to talk, you got the mic. You just can't interrupt and overtalk people. That's all.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, there's a reason why there's not as many videos of the 24-hour sun in Antarctica as there are in the northern hemispheres, because there's less people that go to Antarctica. So you say, oh, there's only been one video or two videos. Of course, there's not that many videos of it because there's less people down there. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Just like
I generally agree with that. A lot less people go there, but it seems like there could have been, National Geographic, companies like this, there could have been plenty of footage of it, though, instead of the first one ever happening in 2014. Dude, if you were like in 1994, 1986, 1999, any of those years, if you wanted to see footage of a 24-hour sun, one of the most major thing that happens on this earth in Antarctica, you couldn't find it. It would be impossible. And there weren't even really trips back then either. There wasn't Union Glacier back then. So, dude, as a civilian person in 1996, if you want to know about the 24-hour sun in Antarctica, forget it. You never would. There's no footage. There's no way to get there. Only if you're maybe in the military, you go to McMurdo or something. That's it. So it's been pretty strangely limited access.
Yes, I want to clarify one thing. Let me add one thing on top of that before you go, dude. So if you go within that Arctic Circle, which is like 80 degrees from the true South Pole, you should be able to see the 24-hour sun for 6 months straight. These guys only went and they confirmed it for like a day.
Like, why is it taking me 3 times as long to sail to this location? I'm running out of food and water because
that, in fact, happens in the South all the time, dude.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, are you assuming that I'm asserting? And yeah, we have to understand that like the term flat Earth has been linked with that AE map. It doesn't mean that everyone that has a stationary planar Earth cosmology links to that AE map. So if that's what you're doing, I've never claimed that that's necessarily
I'm not talking
about map of the Earth.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the AE map. I'm just talking about people sailing from one destination to another, right? From all around the world.
I was just trying to say, you said that the star trails don't prove the shape of the Earth, and I was saying that you're 100% wrong, because how do you explain on a flat Earth, a flat plane, the stars rotating counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern hemisphere? It doesn't have any explanation.
Easy. You have 2 rotations above a planar surface.
What?
Yep, this can be replicated. This can be replicated with something called magnetohydrodynamics. I'm going to post a GIF right now that shows. Please stop interrupting. You're going to have to mute your mic when you're finished speaking. Okay, you're making noises or something. So this right here, this is a magnetohydrodynamic demonstration. So it shows it's got 2 electric poles that are in water with little pepper flakes, and you see the 2 rotations. So it's very basic, the clockwise and counterclockwise rotations. This is also the pattern of an electric field. Like a very basic electric field has 2 rotations, and then it has the center line, like an electric field, a very basic electric field. So it's not surprising that the sky has the 2 rotations just like an electric field does, and that can all be replicated on the ground.
That would mean that someone at the equator would see 2 suns, one approaching from the northeast and one approaching from the southeast.
No, because the sun is only in one section, like that last one I just posted at 53 after, that shows an electric circuit. So you'd have the sun rotating around one of those 6 months of the year, and then the other one 6 months of the year. There would never be 2 suns. It's this one sun that is rotating on different portions of that.
Why is it that you can't see the Southern Cross from the Northern Hemisphere?
Because it's too far away, and you can't see beyond that point.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, there's a limit to how far we can see, so things are going to set at that limit.
Mm-hmm. Why can't you see Polaris from Australia?
Because it's beyond your point of your capacity of how far you can see. It's too far.
Interesting.
Same thing. Yeah, just like if you were in a huge warehouse, like a massive warehouse, let's say it was like a 5,000 square acre or bigger, a 10,000 square acre, whatever warehouse. If you have something on the ceiling, you're not going to be able to see that forever. There's a point at which it's going to be too far to see.
But it would get dimmer as you go farther away, and Polaris is the same exact magnitude precisely all the way to the horizon, and then it suddenly disappears, and the magnitude never goes down. What light source have you ever seen in your life that as it gets further and further away, it stays the same magnitude, and all of a sudden it becomes too far away to see?
Well, it's kind of a false equivalence because you're trying to claim like the idea of a light bulb compared to what the sky is. I mean, there's nothing like the sky. There's nothing we can even, other than sonoluminescence, where you can replicate in a laboratory like that effect. But the sky is obviously like no other light source that we know about.
But if the claim is that it gets too far away, it gets too far away to see, then it's because it becomes dimmer and dimmer and dimmer, and then it becomes so dim that you can't see it anymore.
Yeah, that's a claim to say sonoluminescence.
Your whole model speculation.
The observations work really, really well. That's how we figured the Earth was a globe, hundreds of years ago.
The criticism about it being speculation, like, dude, the globe is speculation at its core.
It's not. No, you're wrong. It's not speculation. It's a proven fact.
Oh, it's like you guys don't hear what's being said in the conversation.
If the Earth was flat, explain a sunset. I've asked someone to explain the sunset. They haven't
Oh,
done
random lily pad. Yeah, that's always good.
Well, how does the sunset work on a flat Earth?
It gets obstructed when it gets too far away.
Why doesn't it change shape?
Because not an object.
So what is the sun?
It does change shape sometimes. You've seen it where the sun looks like a pyramid?
Never seen
Through all the
that.
refractive effects? Pyramid sun?
Never
Sun
seen
makes all. Sometimes it looks like an atomic bomb thing. It makes all kinds of shapes. What do you mean?
It gets close. It looks like an egg.
Like, are you bad faith saying stuff or like what? Pyramid-shaped sun? What the fuck?
A photograph. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a well-known phenomenon. Sometimes the sun looks like a pyramid when it's
I
setting.
think you just, Gio, you mean like when there's clouds near the horizon and the sun is setting, you can get kind of like a Hiroshima bomb effect, and you can get some stuff like that where the sunlight mixes with the clouds on the horizon. Is that what you mean? Sometimes you get some refraction and
yeah, during a sunset,
I'm talking about that's what I'm talking about when it's up against when it's up against the horizon. Sometimes also if there's some refraction, you can get you can get like the sun bulging out from the bottom because you'll get like a inverse refraction.
Yeah, he just said something like, "Why doesn't it change shape?" And I'm just saying the sun visibly can make all kinds of shape changes when it's setting. That's all I was responding to.
That's not what I mean, though. If the Earth was flat and the sun was just moving far away from you, it would start getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah, why doesn't the sun change size?
That's what I meant. It doesn't change its size.
You don't see it that far away.
That's wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, but how would we orbit around the Earth then?
No. If the Earth was flat and the sun was just moving far away from you, it would start getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah, why doesn't the sun change size?
That's what I meant. It doesn't change its size.
You don't see it that far away.
That's wrong.
Okay. Yeah, but how would we orbit around the Earth then?
You can with lenses, you can like not everything will change angular size with distance. With a basic lens, I'm just trying to find the.
But we're talking about a certain distance. Like, how far away is the sun? It's 93 million miles. Okay, if something is close, it's a different thing. We're talking about the sun here. We're not talking about a bird.
Yeah, but bro, that would be the interpretation of the celestial objects not changing its angular relation to each other, disregarding the distance, That would imply an interpretation of the possibility that it's so far away, but it doesn't mean it's the only and exclusive option, right?
Right, so if you take a look at this, I'm about to post. So this is using just basic lenses, collimated lenses. This little animation or this video here shows 3 representations. So one of them shows a light source and then a lens, and then it's projecting onto a sheet of paper. And as he moves the sheet of paper back and forth, it does not change angular size. The other one, he's projecting a circle onto a wall and he takes his hand. That one actually does change a little bit angular size. That's the one that when he moves his hand, but you can see it's not the same as it would be otherwise. And then the third one is even more demonstrable, where basically he has like a light that is on it's like a little contraption thing where he has the light source and then a lens which is like just in front of that light source. Then he moves that whole contraption back and forth, and you see it also doesn't change angular size. So if there's anything like a lens in the sky or if the sun is behind a layer, for example, and that layer, if it functions like this lens would, then the sun would not be expected to change angular size because of that. And this can be replicated, just like shown right there on Earth, can be replicated on small scale.
Where is this layer?
Well, if it was replicating what this shows, the layer would have to be between the sun and the observer.
So for that to work, how far away is the sun?
Bro, I haven't been to the sun or measured that. I wouldn't be able to know that.
What?
When it's triangulated, if you triangulate the sun, people usually get around what they claim the radius of the Earth is, actually, around 4,000 miles. But that's only when it's triangulated.
Do you guys notice, I don't know if anyone else knows. Sorry, I'm delayed again.
Oh, go ahead.
Wait. You're saying the sun's 4,000 miles away from the Earth?
No, I did not claim that. I specifically claimed that I have not measured the distance to the sun. Nobody has. What I said is that when it's triangulated using angles and assumptions calculated, it's generally usually between 35 to 4,500 miles when people triangulate it.
Like
why does the sun doesn't change size even you are thousands of kilometers away from each other, or regardless of how up you are in the sky?
Bro, your sun is 1,000,000 miles closer during our winter.
What's that have to do with anything?
It doesn't change in your guys' model. It doesn't change at all for either of us, and both of our models have the sun moving farther from us. With this newbie Robert that on a flat Earth the sun wouldn't set.
Well, if you look at just the geometry of straight lines of light and something over a plane, then on face value it wouldn't, would it? I think everyone would agree with that.
It wouldn't.
Okay.
If something's above a plane, and you're above a plane, it can either get so small, so far away, and so small you can no longer resolve it, but it wouldn't set staying the same size. Perspective doesn't afford you that phenomenon.
So you're saying optics is never responsible for you not being able to see something in the horizon?
Well, I don't know what that means. Optics isn't responsible. I'm saying that
you have all kinds of observations where the horizon is closer or farther depending on the day, but you don't.
There's two
think
reasons.
things disappear at the horizon.
If you can see something, there's two principal reasons. If you can see something in one instance and then you can't later on at some point thereafter, there are usually two principal reasons why that is. It's obstructed by some other opaque medium, or it's moved so far away that you can't optically resolve it anymore.
Isn't there a third option though, which would mean light rays are bent?
Up.
There is, yeah, that's true. But the bending of the light, yeah, that's true, I suppose.
Yeah, the light rays bend down towards the Earth. So as it gets further away, it's bending down more. So all of a sudden, that light at a distance which should actually be resolvable, right? It's within the sort of inverse square law. It's within its distance, but because of the turn down rays, it causes it to set.
But the bending rays,
that's light
bending
bending
rays
up.
would mean. Well, bending rays would mean if there was a curve and there's bending rays, you see it further than you would if they weren't bending.
Yeah, they bend up though. Maybe depending on the angle of incidence, but look into water.
The light's bend down.
Well, I'm not arguing.
On a flat surface, if the light bends down, you don't see further. You don't see as far. I can understand how you're saying that on a curved surface, such as the globe, that you get to see further. But as soon as you transfer that to a flat surface,
I'm saying when you look at you look in the water and the fish is higher than going into a thicker medium. Light would not. I mean, it would bend. Some would bend up. Like if you're looking along the surface, I think light. But either way,
the sun from sunrise to sunset never changes shape or size.
Well, yeah, again, we're seeing it for maybe 4 miles. It's an object. You could move towards it, and you wouldn't get closer. It's
4 miles.
All right, yeah.
What 4 miles?
Well, the distance you can see in light.
The sun's directly overhead, and it goes and it's setting. It's going down. It's setting. It stays the same exact size. It never changes size.
Yeah, but dude,
4 miles.
Well, the distance you can see in light.
The sun's directly overhead, and it goes and it's setting. It's going down. It's setting. It stays the same exact size. It never changes size.
Yeah, but dude, I just posted this. Take a look at this again. If you look at the last one on this, it shows a circular, what looks like a sun type thing with a lens that's just in front of it, like a foot in front of it. And as you move that whole thing back and forth, it does not change angular size. So if the sun has a lens in front of it, just to replicate what this is, it would not be expected to change angular size with distance change.
But the sun doesn't have a lens in front of it.
You're just asserting that. You don't know that.
It does. It's called the atmosphere.
So just to
what
be
would
fair,
a lens look? What would a lens look like that was contrived in such a way that everybody from every conceivable position, simultaneously looking at the sun, would have the contrivance equivalent to one person looking through one circular lens?
All it would have to do is have one layer of atmosphere of medium, maybe plasma. There's a lot of potentials of what that could be. One layer, and that's what it would do. It would remain the same angular size for everybody, just like that just like that replication of that collimated lens shows. So the point is that you can't say it's impossible when we can replicate on the ground. Same with the two star rotations. You can replicate two rotations over a planar surface on a small scale. You can replicate it not changing. You guys, please don't interrupt. I know
you can't do it. I'm sorry, you can't do it.
Okay, but you can't interrupt. So it doesn't matter what you think. If you disagree, you can't just spurg and scream and interrupt. You have to wait until I'm finished. Then you can say your point. Just spaz interrupting is not helpful because I'm trying to say something and then no one else can hear what I'm saying when you're just shouting. Anyways, so you can replicate the two rotations and the non-changing angular size on a small scale. Therefore, you cannot call it impossible.
You cannot replicate dual spinning skies.
In the same angular size for everybody, just like that just like that replication of that collimated lens shows. So the point is that you can't say it's impossible when we can replicate on the ground. Same with the two star rotations. You can replicate two rotations over a planar surface on a small scale. You can replicate it not changing. You guys, please don't interrupt. I know
you can't do it. I'm sorry, you can't do it.
Okay, but you can't interrupt. So it doesn't matter what you think. If you disagree, you can't just spurg and scream and interrupt. You have to wait until I'm finished. Then you can say your point. Just spaz interrupting is not helpful because I'm trying to say something and then no one else can hear what I'm saying when you're just shouting. Just spaz interrupting is not helpful because I'm trying to say something and then no one else can hear what I'm saying when you're just shouting. Anyways, so you can replicate the two rotations and the non-changing angular size on a small scale. Therefore, you cannot call it impossible.
You cannot replicate dual spinning skies. Number one.
I just showed that before, the magnetohydrodynamics. You absolutely can.
What I would say about that,
replicate the two rotations and the non-changing angular size on a small scale. Therefore, you cannot call it impossible.
You cannot replicate dual spinning skies. Number one.
I just showed that before, the magnetohydrodynamics. You absolutely can.
What I would say about that picture, Gio, is I think you'd agree that the equator on that is a straight line. It goes off to infinity in one direction, off infinity other. So how does the sun traverse that line and get back on itself in 24 hours?
Yeah, I mean that's.
You cannot replicate dual spinning skies. Number one.
I just showed that before, the magnetohydrodynamics. You absolutely can.
What I would say about that picture, Gio, is I think you'd agree that the equator on that is a straight line. It goes off to infinity in one direction, off infinity other. So how does the sun traverse that line and get back on itself in 24 hours?
Yeah, I mean that's a really interesting question, but just to Steelman Geo here real quick, okay? It's just that different aspects of the phenomena we are discussing, which leads the one side to interpretation of the reality, Geo's just hinting to, hey, we can model aspects of the phenomenon we are talking about, okay? So maybe ask questions about that and not go into interpretation or speculation land and ask him how's the sophisticated mechanism of something every human on the planet sees traversing endlessly on the sky like a machine which no one can explain, you know? It's just, I don't know, man.
And additionally, if you're on the equator, the stars don't rotate, they travel across. So is there three little phenomena that are on a flat Earth?
Hey, I'm in San Diego. There's great videos from sailors that have been in the South their whole life and how the sun sets different, longer, all kinds of stuff, seeing farther. But
I'm 2 hours away from you.
Yep. I don't catch the sunset every day.
But the sun sets differently in the southern hemisphere than it does in the northern hemisphere. And in fact, the best test, which I don't know how they could ever explain it, would be, is if you're on the same longitude, somebody like in, let's say, somewhere in Brussels, and another guy down in South Africa, and they watch the sunset, one's going to see it go from east to west, and the other guy's going to see it go from west to east. So what is there, two suns?
Well, how's that work on a globe then? And how does the longer sunset, because it's further away, it's on the bottom, on the tilt? Or
what? I'm not talking about time. I'm talking about the direction you see the sun moving.
Yeah, no, I know it's a separate question. I was on the globe. I was adding to that.
Those images of the thing that with the guy putting the lens there and what you see is saying the same shape. That's because he's got the light at the focal point for that particular prescription lens. So you expect to see parallel light rays coming out the other side of that lens.
To respond to what ASIC said, I mean, yeah, the sky is like arguably the most complex thing in this entire realm, like what it actually is, how it works. We all know the globe has a certain explanation for it, and if folks want to jump on that and they think that's true, that's fine. But the fact that you're even here discussing it means you're obviously kind of questioning whether the globe thing is really the case or not.
No.
So none of us have been to the sky. I don't believe NASA has been probing the sun and any of that either. If you decide to believe government propaganda agencies, you can. But I think the sky has always been a mystery to humans to some extent. Like we can view it, but you can't go up there and get a sample. You can't go up there and open the control panel and look what's behind it. However, we're talking about what the phenomenon is, what we observe, and the fact that we can replicate these things on small scale clearly shows that it's not impossible, and that you just can't claim impossibility when you can replicate these things on small scale.
Physics say it's impossible.
There's many things about the globe model that are pseudo-physics. I agree. There's a whole bunch of things that are impossible. These things are not impossible because you can replicate it. Like you can't replicate the bending and warping of space-time to change gravitation. That's pseudo-physics.
Maybe so.
But you can replicate two rotations on a planar surface. You can't, because that's the way an electric field works. It's not a big surprise that the sky has two rotations in the straight line at the equator. That is literally the exact same flux lines of an electric field. A very basic electric field that you can replicate with ferrofluid, like a ferrofluid, like a ferrocell. You can replicate that right in front of your eyeballs on a small scale. So it's really not a big shocker that the sky has those two rotations. It's an electric field.
Gio, pull up your bipolar map again and show me where the equator is on that.
I don't have any bipolar. I don't call anything a bipolar. So.
Well, you had a two poles map, didn't you? Which is akin to a geomagnetic field that you posted a little while back.
Look, just if I feel like to be helpful, it's compare the dual pole map to the Gleason map. There's no point in just trying to disprove the dual pole map. Help the community move forward a little bit. Compare the dual pole map to the Gleason map. It's clearly better in every conceivable way. And if the community can listen to this and everyone can catch on and move forward one step, I think it's good for everyone. There's trying to disprove this and throw it in the trash. I feel like it's not the right way. Play devil's advocate for it. Like if this is the way I'm going about it. If the world had to be level and stationary, it had to be. And what's the closest best approximation based on our measurements, our sky, our sun, our everything. So that's it. Thank you.
Where's the map? Where's the map?
I think I've reposted what you posted, Gio, which is that.
I'm delayed. Can I get in?
Robert Silverman, if you go to the list of map projections on Wikipedia, you can look through all of the most popular map projections over the last hundreds and hundreds of years. You'll find that probably about a third of them have the layout that we're talking about. So it's a very popular layout. One of them is called the equal area it's the Lambert equal area azimuthal projection, which basically, instead of using the North Pole as the center and Antarctica ring around the outside, he uses the equator as the center, and then the Pacific Ocean is around the outside, which is interesting because if you look on Google Earth and you move the ball Earth around, you can position it to where half of the ball Earth is all the Pacific Ocean. So wrapping the Pacific Ocean around the outside, having that large amount of space, fits that quite a bit more. But these are very popular projections, dude. These have been known about for hundreds.
What's this map that positive? What is that map?
Robert, I've just posted it.
That's the Lambert equal area. Azimuth.
Yeah, I just want to say it's important to note. It's important to note that when you said around the outside, I was listening to Eminem.
Okay.
The important thing about that map is the equator is a straight line that goes to the one edge of the realm and comes back on the other side, Pac-Man style. How does that work?
Well, that does give us some solutions compared to the AE map. For example, vernal equinox with the straight shadows. The sun now makes a deadline straight path, giving us straight shadows, solving one inherent issue in the Gleason map that cannot be resolved. So that's great.
Obviously solves the two star rotations and the straight line.
In all honesty, though, if we can't find a flat projection of it that hasn't got some fundamental problems like this, what would that possibly tell us, you think?
Well, Pazzo, here's the thing. Let's say we had all the money and we did all the tests and you and I personally verified there is no curvature 1000%. That's like we have a couple $1 million. That's the first thing we do is there's no curvature. What do you and I do? Same deal, buddy. We're sitting here with no curvature and no motion.
Well, you're not sticking with no.
It doesn't mean you just jump to globes and just make up curvature and motion.
You can verify curve and motion with a whole
the
lot
globe
less
model
than
has already been
dollars.
The globe model has already been pre-cooked by trillionaires that have already sold it to us.
It hasn't. It wasn't.
So why would it be expected that we would have the entire answers right now? We don't.
You can verify curvature. You can verify curvature for like very little money, and you can verify motion with a little bit of money and a very long string.
All right. Well, no one in here is going to agree with you. You've been trying for 10 years. I would just give up the gag on that and maybe just try to help us move forward, because you're either interested in moving forward or you want to just cuck for curvature, and you're never going to get us on curvature. So just put that on the side, put it on the back bin, put it on the back bin. Maybe go to TikTok or try to find on the fence flat earthers if you want to cuck to them. We're not interested in that. We're moving forward. So either move forward.
Why aren't you interested in doing a historical experiment that's been done for 2,500 years?
With you, and you're not going to convince anyone ever.
But you don't have to do anything.
You haven't done it.
You have nothing. That's why.
You haven't done it though. I mean, this has been known for 2,500 years.
Sticks in the ground?
Evidence
Well,
of
I'm not
curvature.
going to debate you on sticks on the ground, dude. That's completely faulty.
Well, why not sticks on the ground? I mean, the latest. I mean, you can say, well, so you can't use the luminaries to prove. You can't use the sky to prove the shape of the Earth. Yet the latest thing from flat earthers is the so-called the theodolite, the mountain theodolite. What is it?
Theodolite bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's using the luminaries to show the shape of the Earth. So which way do you want it now? The celestial theodolite. The celestial theodolite. You, Gio, you've been in here saying that people in this room, not perhaps you particularly, but people in this room have been shilling the celestial theodolite now since they invented it.
Okay.
And so that's using the luminaries to show the shape of the Earth. Now, can we use the luminaries to show the shape of the Earth? I guess or no?
Wait. Let's get some middle ground here, okay? So neither of us is going to claim celestial objects now, okay?
And this whole celestial theodolite thing, you should just ban it from this channel, right?
Yeah, I don't agree, because the difference is that the star occluding is interacting with the ground. So it's not just looking at the ground and making ideas. It's an object interacting with the ground, which involves a geometry. So it's not just using the sky to make claims. It's using how the sky interacts with the ground. It's a very important
That's
difference.
exactly what happens with the sticks, though. Use how the sky interacts with the ground.
That's
the bottom line is
the problem is that it's not exclusive to a spherical shaped surface. That's the problem with that one.
So is this server like flat? This is like all flat Earth people here?
No.
Oh.
It predominantly is, isn't it? But, Geo lets you come here and talk about these things. He wants people to engage on a whole range of topics of things that generate conversation. If you don't want to generate that conversation, you wouldn't have a Discord. You just have a website, put your pictures and searches up, and then carry on with the rest of your day.
But I just find that no matter what, I don't think anyone could convince anybody here to change their view, because no matter what you say, it's either a lie, or it's not real, or it's fake, or nobody's been there, so it doesn't exist. So it's like it's an exercise in futility. So I mean, everyone's just voicing their opinion, I believe. But I do firmly believe that the Earth being a globe has been established now since the 15th century. We know it's a globe. We've been to space. We got people orbiting the Earth. I mean, there's no ambiguity other than now there's this group. It's like, I call it a cult maybe, that wants to believe it isn't, but there's no way to change their mind.
Well, before the
what?
I mean, people might get culty in different ways. Some like groups on the globe or flat Earth or whatever. People might get culty in their own little certain platforms or certain channels or whatever. But the reality is that the Earth being a stationary plane itself is not a cult at all. It's the world's most ancient cosmology since the dawn of time, that humans have had a stationary planar Earth. And all the ancients, I mean, going back to it's in the Vedic cosmology. I mean, the Egyptian, the Norse, the Aztec, virtually every ancient cosmology had a planar stationary Earth. So it's really like the root of all of humanity. The globe concept has come in, and now there's a globe thing. So it's really not. It's a cosmology. It's not a cult. And there have always been people that have thought it's planar, even through the current globe thing. There's people around the world that have.
And even Pasa probably has, and I don't always say I don't put words in your mouth, Pasa, but others have said it. Kosho, other ones have said along the way, when you start speaking about it genuinely, there's a possibility that we could be right. Right? Science is always changing and stuff. So if there's a possibility, why is it so wrong to logically go down this path? There's not. It's not at all.
But the ancient civilization didn't know any better. They didn't have an explanation. That's why now Now we know what the Earth is. Before they didn't know, but now we really do know what it is.
Why? Why wouldn't the ancients know?
More than the 1800s guys with their awesome stuff.
The ancients seem to know how the sky worked to incredible precision, and that requires knowing what the ground is to know how the ground lays out to the sky.
Cool, but you asked me why would they do it? Well, they do it for mind control, and they do it for a lot of money. They get a lot of money for it. NASA has insane amounts of money that they've been getting. NASA alone, it's not just them. Corporations get tons of money.
NASA gives it to corporations.
That's the United States. What about every other country?
Lots of money, lots of mind control. They get to make the story, and because they're making it up, they have exclusive ability to do so. They're the script writers for it. They can decide, and only they can decide.
what happens next?
The technology is expensive.
Right, and then they're weaving the narrative as well. So they're weaving the space narrative, the Big Bang, the evolution, all of those factors, and like the latest space news, all that stuff. I mean, it's so clear why they would want to deceive. Because if you're like a psychopath and you deceive other people, once you deceive them and they're in your deception, you now control what they think. Because you control the next part of it, the evolution of it, the new discoveries, the new findings, and it's woven into the whole thing. So it's literally controlling people within that subset of the deception that you've put them in. If you want to trick them in a maze or something, you fool them where they are, and now you follow that, you lead them around the maze. So that's just straightforward on that level why they would do it.
Yep.
Where are we at?
Russia was in a race to get to the moon with the United States. If we faked the moon landing, don't you think Russia would do everything in their power to show it was fake?
Sure.
Okay, so my viewpoint on that is that I think it's an illusion that the countries are separate and that they're fighting each other. I think that's part of the deception that they set up to make it look like the countries are different. You have the United Nations, which obviously is one thing. All these countries work together. There's things like the Antarctic Treaty. They also have a space treaty. There's a whole bunch of things they agree upon. So the idea, and then all the world banks are all connected. Like even during World War I and World War II, the world banks were all exchanging money. Who do you know that exchanges money that are enemies, that are just happily keeping honesty when it comes to, oh, let me send you this money, let me send you that transaction. So I think it's just an illusion that they're actually enemies, and that's part of it's a good little deception, right? Make it look like they're all enemies when they're not, and they're working together. They're more like a corporation. They work together, then convince people that they're separate. That's part of the deception.
All been since that.
It doesn't matter. It's just this everything is a conspiracy. It's like that's the argument. Everything's a conspiracy. They're all in on it.
That takes two people not telling someone. That happens in business. People that have power and money, if you don't think they keep secrets, and that's all it's saying, really. It's kind of naive.
It's like 9/11's an inside job. The Kennedy assassination. It's like there's so many conspiracies out there.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, okay, are you asking questions like an interview style, or are you debating? Because I'm not trying to debate this with you.
No, but I'm just saying that if you say
everything, are you asking my perspective, or are you trying to ask me to debate something? Because to debate something is totally different.
I'm just saying that if everything's a conspiracy, you can't debate it. Everything's a conspiracy, and you don't have any hard evidence that it is a conspiracy, so it's just a conspiracy.
I never said we don't have any hard evidence, guys. Did you know that? We're just making it up.
I know. That's what's bad.
It's all made up. Yes, of course.
We see too far. All the distances are made up. Everything's made up.
Nobody said those things.
Columbus had a globe.
Everybody says that.
Use the stars. So.
Everyone says that type of stuff. As soon as you bring up something like the ship disappears whole first over the horizon, the wave is blocking it. I mean, it's like I know all your talking points.
That's not my talking point, dude. Why don't if you want to have a real genuine conversation? Yeah, dude. The thing is, you're doing this like generalization, lambasting thing where you're trying to like make these like
what is your belief?
Yeah, have a real conversation. Ask a real thing, and then someone can respond to a real thing, and it'll be real.
I asked you, Gio, an hour ago. Where's your map?
Okay, my response to that is that I'm being intellectually honest to say that I have not mapped the Earth. So I have a choice, just like you do. I could go off what the national or the.
No. Stop there. You don't have one, right? You don't have a map.
Got a couple.
I don't know whether I have one or not. Anyone can go online and say they have a map, like Google, which is maybe what you've done. You could just appropriate someone else's map to yours, but nobody in here has their own map of the Earth. No one. So you're just appropriating other people's maps and ideas. That's the best anyone in here could do, because none of us have mapped the Earth. None of us have our own map.
I'm asking you what is your model, and you don't have one. That's all I'm asking. That's why I said this thing about a ship up here disappearing whole first over the horizon. You said I don't believe that, so I don't know what you believe because you haven't expressed yourself of what you believe.
Because you don't have a total model.
I asked you about I did. I asked you.
Yeah, we don't have a total model. Oh, big deal. We know which things are absolutely true and which things are not, though. We know a lot about the realm, but we don't know the totality.
No,
and it's very elusive. It's difficult to attain that because a lot of the information that we have been given has been distorted, especially maps, which have all been warped through turning them into globe projections.
No, the globe is not a warped thing. It's a real thing.
No, it is. The mapping is warped. It's literally a globe projection. They call the maps globe projection based. We don't have non-globe projection based maps. They probably exist. They probably exist. We don't have access
because it distorts the map. That's why you can't do it.
Well, the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency is the group that actually publishes the WGS-84, which is the current coordinate system for the globe. And the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency is a part of the United States Intelligence Agency group. It's like a sister group to the CIA and the FBI. So they're the ones who publish your globe Earth oblate spheroid system. So if you're going to say you have a map, you don't really have a map. You have what the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency gives you.
That also lines up with every single observation there is in distance there is in the world.
And that's just you checked all that? Are you being
They
intellectually
actually
honest?
had a reference ellipsoidal model from level land surveying.
Listen.
But you asked me what I think the entire map of the Earth is. So what I'm doing is I'm not jumping to authorities or to intelligence agencies and what they claim. I am being honest with you today, telling you I have not mapped the Earth. And I think if you were on it, if you were being the same, you could say, you know what, Gio, I haven't mapped the Earth either, but I have some reasons why I believe it's this or that. Are you interested? And I could say, no, I'm not too interested because I've already looked into that. I'd rather actually do something that's more productive and move forward in the conversation, and we could go from there. If you want to interview me with other questions, that's fine. If I have questions for you, that's fine. I don't really have any for you at the moment, but if you have other questions, that's fine. But that's the answer to your first question. If you're asking me directly, not all of the kind of straw manning and generalizations of what you think you've heard other people say and and then you're trying to sort of make all these things and like heckle at it and things that I didn't say. So now we're at least having a real conversation in that way. I have not mapped the Earth. Have you?
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Okay. Obviously, myself physically, have I mapped the Earth? No, of course not. That doesn't mean that it's not a globe. I have observations that I make with my eyes, which you dismiss, like the rotation of the stars in the sky, which you dismiss because you say it's some sort of a liquid they're spinning around. I don't remember what you said. But you just dismiss all of my little normal observations that a third grader can make about sunsets, the moon, the stars spinning different directions, not being able to see Polaris in the southern hemisphere, et cetera, et cetera. I say all these things, but you dismiss them all. So it's like,
okay, so now you're doing another series of straw mans. We're gonna have to unwind this one. If you're gonna be engaging with me, please don't interrupt. You said your point and you finished. If you're gonna engage with me, I'm now gonna have the uninterrupted time to respond. I have not. Please don't interrupt.
Can I say one more thing? I just wanted to finish.
Well, that whole thing is a straw man, so it's not.
No, but those are all
I have not denied the rotation of the stars at all. So why did you say that?
You can't finish a statement if it's all based on straw man.
No. I said, could you explain that on a flat Earth? And you said that there's some sort of a liquid pheromole. I don't remember what you said. Some sort of silly thing that didn't make any sense of trying to explain how the stars are spinning one way in the northern and one way in the southern. That's what you said.
Well, first you said I denied that the stars rotate, and now you don't even remember what I said, and you're just making literally another series of straw mans.
Well,
do you realize how disingenuous you're being right now?
That's what you said,
incredibly disingenuous. I did not say that. You don't even know the word I said. What's the word I said?
You came up with some sort of feral motion thing. I don't even know what it was.
You don't even know what it is.
It was something so asinine that I dismissed it.
Okay, so you're the one denying and dismissing things that you don't even understand or know what they are.
I understand very clearly that the stars rotate counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern, something that cannot be explained on a flat plane Earth.
Yeah, you can.
It doesn't even work on a globe, bro.
You turn around 180 degrees.
It's not even the right way to explain it. He says the stars are going the opposite direction in the south. Really, you think that's what your model says? You don't even know your own model.
So Robert, I'm just pointing out, dude, that you're I'm not trying to attack you personally. I'm just trying to calmly say you're being incredibly disingenuous because you don't even know what I even said. You're just trying to insult what I said without even knowing what it is. You don't even know the term magnetohydrodynamics. Okay, that's one thing you don't. So what you should learn what I'm saying first. Magnetohydrodynamics. Go look it up. It's a thoroughly well-known phenomenon. And I showed you a demonstration of magnetohydrodynamics on a small scale, which shows two rotations over flat water. So that's not silly. It's not all of the heckling and insults you tried to disingenuously apply to it at all. It's a direct representation, first of all. Secondly, you said I denied the motion of the stars, which I did not do. That is either a lie or another disingenuous deception that you're trying to push because you're being a very disingenuous interlocutor. The third thing I said was a ferrocell. And a ferrocell uses ferrofluid. A ferrocell uses ferrofluid, which replicates the way a magnetic field manifests on a small scale, which I linked that to the same motion that the stars make. So now do you understand all of those points outside of all of the disingenuous straw man and deceptions you tried putting forth?
I understand what you're saying. I apologize for misrepresenting your position. But how does that determine where it takes place? What separates the phenomenon? Like how does that move? Where on the flat plane does it determine which way they're going to move? How do you know where it moves as opposed to one area as another area?
Oh, well, that's the thing, dude. We could have I don't like getting all stern like this and all like worked up, but it's so infuriating when someone's being that just rude and trying to do that and then trying to like lambast slander, in front of a whole group of people. So I do get a bit charged because I feel like I need to actually defend what I actually said. Otherwise, like, what is this? You know what I mean? This is just like a clown show of just shouting at people and just saying false things. Like, is that the goal, or do you want to have a real conversation? Because I can share you what I think, you can share what you think, and we can have a good combo.
Can I ask you I want an honest answer to this question. Do you really believe that the Earth is flat? Or is this something that you're just doing for shock value to have this type of server thing going?
If you're asking me personally, dude, I'll give you my very brief story. When I was a young child, I questioned the globe Earth. When I was 5, 6, 7 years old, I questioned the globe. It did not resonate as truth to me. Something about it seemed off on multiple levels, although I couldn't really put it all together back then. So I always had something in my soul, in my understanding, that the globe seemed false. However, I didn't really pursue it too much at a very young age. And then in 2004, I was researching all kinds of things like Hollow Earth and a lot of things. And I came across the Flat Earth Society website. And instantly there was something that resonated with me about some of the claims that were made on that site. But then there were things that didn't resonate, like the Earth is moving upwards at 9.8 meters a second, to account for gravity, things that did not resonate with me. I've always studied ancient cosmologies and also like shamanic traditions and understanding like the roots of the roots of humanity going back like before any religions even existed in terms of the shamanic practices, and also a lot of the ancient cosmologies and ancient understandings of this whole realm and of life and philosophies and so on. And it was not until 2015 that I fully came to that the Earth is not a sphere. So yes, 100%, I do not think the Earth is a spinning sphere, and it is planar and stationary to all extents that I've been able to acquire looking into. However, I have not mapped the entire Earth. I have not measured, water across the entire plane. I have not been to the entire extent of the Earth. But yes, absolutely, my worldview is that the Earth is a planar foundation, as the ancients understood as well. That there's a planar geometrical foundation to it. The water is level, and that the Earth is not in motion. I've never seen any valid evidence of curvature or motion. And I could get into all of those to be the case.
It doesn't make sense to. It doesn't make sense to get into that. I just wanted to know. But are you a married man? Do you have kids?
I'd rather not really.
What does that have to do with your question, bro? Why that kind of personal question? What does that have to do with anything? You're trying to make a judgment on him now because you think it's some kind of belief. You don't even know your model, dude. Let me ask you an honest question. Why do you think that in your model the stars move the opposite way in the south?
I wasn't speaking to you.
Why do you think?
You're interrupting my conversation.
Yeah, because you're questioning him about his marriage and all that. That has no relevance, bro.
I was married, and you're interrupting rudely. Something
negative. I'm saying that's out of line, bro.
My response is that I'm not really going to go into my personal life. Maybe we could talk another day about that, but right now it's not.
I didn't mean any disrespect. I'm married. I have kids. It's not just a simple question. My question was only about your belief of the flat Earth. Is that something that you share with your friends, people you just meet? You're in a social circumstance, work. Do people know your belief? Is that something you're proud to say?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you one thing. I have a master's degree from a fully accredited master's graduate school in the United States, in California, in cosmology. That's one of the components of the program is cosmology. So I have an actual master's degree from a fully accredited. It's accredited by the same accreditation as Harvard and every other mainstream school in that sense. So I do have I'll share that. I have a master's degree. And yes, pretty much everyone in my life knows that I have this perspective. Yeah, friends, family, for sure.
But the people let's say you meet someone in a social, you're out, you wouldn't just bring it up. Say, hey, the Earth's flat. I mean, you wouldn't want to just spout that out, right? You'd want to keep that to yourself.
It depends. I mean, if it's the right environment, the right set and setting, I may mention it to someone, in that sense. Sure. I mean, but there's a certain like social, look at even this conversation right here. And a lot of the people that I'm not saying you, but just people kind of have a conniption fit about it in different ways, triggered, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I'm sensitive and aware that it may not be the right place to bring it up all the time. I'm not like an evangelist just having to, shout it from the rooftops and bother people, but if the conversation comes up in a way, sure. Especially with my close friends, a lot of people from my graduate school that are, involved in cosmology in multiple ways. I've brought it up to them, and bring up to a lot of people at times, but I don't just like evangelize.
There's a social stigmata to it, right? You'd have to admit that, right?
Yeah, because this is a massive deception that we were all taught when we were children. So it's deeply stored in the human ego and the human psyche and people's safety about the world. Like not only what the world is, but it triggers a feeling of unsafeness if the people that are in power are deceiving to this degree and teaching our children. It's very frightening to think that there's that level of psychopathy at a high level. So yeah, that's one of the factors as to why it can be very triggering for people for them to even consider.
Somebody said I want to propose to you. What an idiot. No, I'm not trying to propose to Gio. No, thank you. Anyways, I listen. If this is the way you guys want to think, I respect everybody's decision. Doesn't mean I agree with it. Honestly, I'm going to be blunt. I think it's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. But if that's the way you guys want to believe, that's great. I mean, I think there's so much evidence that proves it's not flat. But if you want to, but it's impossible for anyone like myself to convince anyone here to change their mind. And I do.
Well, it's impossible to talk to people like you when you don't even listen to the argument, and then you strawman it over and over without even knowing the terms they're using.
Yeah, that's why Robert, I mean, I don't like getting all heated like that. Like, I apologize. But I'm just saying, like, I know I was getting kind of stern, but it is frustrating. Yeah, when it's sort of like you're just being heckled at and like having like tomatoes thrown in your face, and then the person, you know what I mean? Like because you didn't even know the terms I was saying, and then it was just like, because the thing is, when it's strawman after strawman, and in a public setting where you're able to say that, for everyone else listening, it almost is trying to put in their minds like, yeah, this guy doesn't know, like when you put the strawman forward, it makes it sound like I said that thing, and then if I didn't say that thing, the only way I can respond is being like, wait a minute, I did not say that. And I have to go through it like with a fine tooth comb. That's why I was saying like it's a disingenuous, because if you were genuine. I'm not trying to label you as that. I'm just saying it was a disingenuous way of going about it. Because if it was genuine, you'd say, hey, that the magnetohydrodynamics and the ferrocell, like you would actually have known the things I was saying and then actually address what I was saying. But instead, you were just trying to like lambast it as if it's all just, complete foolery or whatever, when it's not. The things I said do link to what we were talking about, the phenomenon.
I'm not saying that those things aren't real, but they don't really apply to the Earth and the stars and the sun. That's all.
Well,
you're assuming, Robert.
The magnetohydrodynamics shows two vortices, one going clockwise, one going counterclockwise, within water, a flat bowl of water. So it does relate, in terms of what we see in the sky, of two rotations like that. An electric
Yeah,
field.
and besides, real quick, Robert, I know you're kind of new to this conversation still, and you haven't really been talking with real people that are being real with you about this or something, but you keep trying to phrase it as, you believe in flat Earth, I think that's the stupidest thing. We all thought that at first to begin with, and it's not about a belief, right? It's not about knowing it's flat or knowing what the whole thing is. To get that out of your head, the reason we're here is because we were all space freaks or really interested in how things work, and we all thought like you did, not because we just started to believe in something else, it's because we realized that the globe model doesn't work physically, literally, scientifically. None of it actually works like you assume it still does. We found out it doesn't. And it's not about belief. It's not about believing it doesn't. It's about there's things that we can show you that will make your model impossible. You don't even have a model, by the way. And you think the stars move the opposite direction. Your model doesn't even say that.
So perhaps I'm in the wrong server. I thought this was a place to debate stuff. I didn't realize this was a place for the people that were once Globers that converted to flat Earth to hang out. I guess
it is, Robert, but you don't have a debate. All you say is, I don't even know what you say. I dismissed it as soon as I heard it.
Yeah, hold on, Robert. Let me
just
say,
your argument. You don't think the flat earthers were once Globers? That's ridiculous.
Dude, this is an open platform, so it is not a cult, meaning it's not like one group that says we believe this and we have to push our cult ideas. It's the opposite of that. This is an open platform. Everybody is welcome to be here. We do moderate for conduct, like if people are interrupting or personal attacks, you can look at the server guidelines. But there are people here of all different perspectives. We don't moderate for ideas. Like we don't ban people because they think this or time them out because they think that. It's all just based on conduct, and it is open. Sometimes it's debate. Sometimes it's people who are agreeing on a topic, exploring that topic further. There's a wide range of, sometimes we do events, I mean, people like MC Toon have done events here. We have all kinds of.
That's how I found you guys. That's how I found you guys. But the gentleman that just spoke to me, I don't know his name, he said that we were all once like me. So I thought maybe I was in the wrong server. I thought if this was like a group of people that are just trying to share their opinion that the Earth is flat, that's not what I wanted to be part of. I found this server from MC Toon, and that's how
I'm just saying, dude, we were all taught the same thing, right? And a lot of us were really into figuring out all the details about how the globe worked, and we were into the space. A lot of us were like space freaks. I was a huge Stephen Hawking fan. I was way into Star Trek, still am actually. But yeah, we were all space nerds, and then we realized that actually it literally won't work scientifically. So you're saying that it's stupid to think that it doesn't work. It means you haven't looked into it, in our opinion. You don't even know your own model. You don't even have a model. Post your model.
That's first of all. Maybe you weren't here. I've been here for a couple hours now. We've been talking about this for a long time, and I do know the model, and I do understand how it works. It's just something that it doesn't make sense to discuss anymore. I guess.
What do you mean it doesn't make sense to discuss? You don't know anything about it. You said the stars move the opposite direction in your model. Stars don't move the opposite direction in your model, bro.
Dude, have you ever been to the Southern Hemisphere?
You think the stars move literally in the opposite direction of the northern stars in your model?
I've traveled. I live in Los Angeles. I've been to the Southern Hemisphere, many spots.
That's why he asked you.
Hold on, let me finish. Who's interrupting?
He asked you a question, and you're going to. I live in Los Angeles.
This is just ridiculous. I can't even finish my answer.
Well, if you think you've witnessed the stars moving in the opposite direction, you're wrong. The stars are in your model. It's the Earth moving to begin with, right? Not stars. Okay. Stars aren't moving, right? And they're all moving the same direction, right?
Can I finish?
They're all moving apparently in the same direction. Regardless, I'm saying, bro, you don't even know how to describe your own model.
Can I finish my answer? Can I finish? Please answer.
You're not answering. Okay.
I can't even finish my answer. It's unbelievable. I live in Los Angeles.
Let's just reset. Give Robert the mic and don't interrupt.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Gio. I live in Los Angeles, California. Okay. Tonight, when I go outside of my house, and I happen to be right now in my house in the mountains where I have no light pollution, I can see the whole Milky Way galaxy. When I look up, I see the stars rotate counterclockwise around Polaris. Okay, I understand it's not the stars that are moving, it's the Earth, but it appears that the stars are moving. They're moving counterclockwise around Polaris. When I go to Cape Town in Johannesburg to visit my friend down there, which I do once a year, and I look up at the southern sky, they're rotating clockwise around. Okay, that doesn't make sense on a flat Earth. To me, to you guys, it does.
So are they both moving the same direction, or they're moving in opposite direction?
One's moving clockwise and one's moving counterclockwise.
So are they both moving the same direction, or are they both moving in opposite direction?
They're not moving. They're moving in opposite directions. Clockwise.
Your model doesn't say that.
Of course it does.
No, it doesn't. Your model says that it's moving from east to west.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it's the Earth moving that causes that illusion. There's no separate. Dude, if you even look at the two-pole flat Earth model here, look in the live stream one text. This is most likely what it is, in my opinion. We got two poles over a flat Earth, right? So that takes care of that whole problem for you. And you haven't even considered that because you think the AE map is what all the flat Earthers think, which was never true. That was never the case. So just get that out of your head.
Okay, I don't want to discuss this because I went through this for 2 hours already with you guys, and every time
Robert,
I bring up
you didn't go through anything. They tried to explain concepts to you, and you dismissed them before you even knew what the term was.
I was speaking to Gio.
So Robert, you're saying that in the north it goes from east to west, and in the south it goes from west to east?
Did I say anything about east to west? I said clockwise and counterclockwise.
So my question was, you said they both move in opposite directions. So opposite directions will be east to west and west to east.
Mm-hmm. I said counterclockwise and clockwise. If you
the question is that both means east to west? Are they both going east to west?
If you don't understand what clockwise and counterclockwise is, I'm sorry.
Apparently you don't either, because I'm asking you the question, what direction, and you're saying clockwise and counterclockwise. Those are not directions.
That's what I'm
That's
telling
your
you.
perception.
Oh God, it's such a waste of time.
Which way do the star move in your model?
I already answered that question.
Robert, listen, the secret, like, listen, Robert, in your model, the stars don't move at all. It's just the Earth moving.
I understand that. I already just said that.
Okay, so then it would be if you're on top of the ball or on the bottom of the ball.
No, there's no top and bottom. There's no top and bottom in space. Down is towards the center of the Earth.
On top of your ball, on the bottom of your ball.
Top,
Right?
bottom.
That's how the stars would look different in your model.
Down is towards the center of the Earth. There's no top and bottom.
Well, however you want to think about it, northern and southern, okay? Southern hemisphere, northern hemisphere. That's why you think that the stars move the opposite direction, because if you're in the south, upside down, you would see them moving the opposite direction. Well, you're upside down relative to the north.
That's right, but there's no upside down in space.
That works.
I understand that, Robert. I understand that, buddy. That's funny, but I mean, I understand that too. It's not about people here. Everybody here knows your model probably better than you do, and you still think it's the stupidest fucking thing to doubt your model, but you haven't even explored doubting your model ever. You've never doubted it. And you have kids, so I understand. It's hard to explain that to them. If we were right, you wouldn't want to have to explain it to your kids. Socially, it would be a little bit hard to go out and talk to your friends about it. We understand that holds you back from even looking into it, honestly. That's fine.
I'm sorry that you've never traveled to the southern hemisphere. I'm sorry. But I know what
It doesn't matter. That's not true. And it's funny that you would assume that's the reason that I think what I think.
The stars appear to travel one direction, which is east to west. Now, are you saying clockwise and counterclockwise? That doesn't say anything to me.
Well, that's if you look up at the sky. Are you in the northern
Doesn't
hemisphere?
matter. What direction are they going?
No. Where are you in this world?
Where direction does they travel?
Oh my God.
Where
Are
do
you
they
in the
appear to
northern
travel?
hemisphere or the southern hemisphere?
Where do they appear to travel?
This is so stupid.
Why? It isn't a silly question. It's actually being straight to the point. I'm
Where
asking
are
you,
you?
which way do they appear to travel?
Where are you in this world? Northern or southern hemisphere?
Doesn't matter why you're asking me questions. I'm asking you a question. You're not even answering me.
Can you see
why are you asking me any questions? I asked you a question. Where do they appear to travel? Why are you keep
I
asking
told you the
questions?
answer. When you look at the northern sky in the northern hemisphere,
Those are not directions.
Excuse me?
Counterclockwise and clockwise is not directions.
That's the way it travels in the sky when you look at it.
Is it east to west or west to east?
Fucking stupid.
Why don't you want to actually give me a solid answer?
Because I'm not talking about east to west, west east. I'm talking about clockwise and
Those
counterclockwise.
are cardinal directions. I need your answer, dude. What the hell? Why is that so hard? Why is that so hard?
Okay, whatever, dude. You don't. You can't even look up.
Yeah, I do understand. What you don't understand is actually which way direction they're traveling.
Which way the stars rotate around Polaris.
Yeah, they kind of go both ways. Elbow, if you look at this right here, this image that people post, like if you're looking at a rotation, they go east to west on the top and west to east on the bottom.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about counterclockwise and clockwise.
Yep.
Their model can handle west to east. That will be the ball rotating in two different directions.
If you look at the picture Gio posted, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
I understand that, but it'll be a problem in your model because the ball only rotates one direction.
No, it wouldn't be a problem. It's a perfect.
Yes, it would be a problem. How are you going to have two things travel in two different directions when the ball is traveling in one direction?
Okay, yeah.
Because it's a rotation.
Just because you don't understand the rotation of a globe doesn't mean it makes.
So you're saying the ball is gonna, because of the ball, when you're looking at a different direction, at a different area, the ball is gonna making the light look like it's going from west to east? No way. It can go west to east. Everything has to go from east to west.
Yeah, okay.
Because the ball is traveling in one direction.
Well, not if you're looking at off the bottom of the ball, like in their model, out into space with all those stars. Like on that one I just posted, like if the ground is right there, there's a west and east on the ground, yet you have stars going east and west to east that you're all looking at off in the distance.
That would be impossible on a ball.
No, it's not impossible.
Yes, it is.
You can replicate that. You can take a basketball and stick a GoPro on it and spin it and replicate that.
Thank you, Gio.
Disco ball.
Dude, I'll steel man the globe arguments all day. I'm not saying that it is a globe, but I mean, I have no problem like.
No, but I'm just trying to say
even the model, the parts that it says.
Because you're different reference points.
So what happens if you're in the south and look towards the north? Which direction are the stars traveling?
Clockwise.
Saying around Polaris always clockwise. Or
Counterclockwise.
Polaris is counterclockwise. When you're in the south, they move clockwise.
If you look towards the north, you'll definitely see them go counterclockwise.
Where do they go? Around what?
They go around. There's no southern point like Polaris in the southern hemisphere. There's an area that doesn't have. It's not an exact point like Polaris in the south. They don't have a star there, so it does travel around a certain point though clockwise. It's like this is the argument you're saying. Who's this gentleman I'm talking to? Elbow? Is that your name? Elbow?
Yep.
Elbow. Oh. If you put a clock on your ceiling, no matter which direction you turn, it's not going to change it from rotating clockwise. The same thing with north and south. No matter which way you turn your body on the southern hemisphere, they're still going to rotate clockwise. The same thing on the north. That's the Earth. It's the globe. You can't change it. It's physics.
Yeah, I mean, Elbow, would you agree? Like, if you're in the north, where the 24-hour sun is not really contested, so you're in the north, and the sun is going to go from left to right as you're looking at it. So let's say you're looking, you're at the 24-hour sun. Let's say you're 80 degrees north. You're looking north, and the sun is going left to right. It's going left to right, and in that case, if you're looking north, it's going from your left, so that's from the west, over to the right to your east. But as it then goes all the way around behind you, and then you turn around 180 degrees, now it's still going from left to right, but now it's going from the east to the west. You're just looking the other way. That's kind of just another example of the way the star trails are. Would you agree with that? That in that simple sense of it, you have west and east and west right there, just in the 24-hour sun in the north, depending on which way you're looking?
Say.
If you could have a compass out and be like, oh, look, the sun's going from west to east, and then turn around and be like, oh, look, it's going east to west.
You know, Gio, what's really interesting about that is that it does seem that there are actual if there are actual two-star rotations, which does seem to be the case, They are separate star rotations, right? And there's a converging and diverging of those star rotations that you can see in stellarium as well as visibly, right? There's a celestial equator where they meet. That's like a real thing that we can all observe. So the globe model just adopts that and says, well, you know, if it was a ball, then you can look at it from this way, and it could be like it's seen that way because you're upside down compared to being on the north, and then they could interpret it that way. But what really seems to be going on, I don't know if you know this, Robert, but there's actually two star rotations possibly separately one's going clockwise, one's going counterclockwise, and they have a real point that they converge at and diverge at. And stellarium actually shows that. Are you aware that stellarium shows the two star rotations converging and diverging from each other?
You talking to me?
Yeah, I'm asking you if you knew that stellarium shows two star rotations converging and diverging from each other.
I don't know what that means. I was just
look at the model that I posted in live stream one text. Are you looking at that? You know how to get to there? It's like right above where we are, the live stream one text. You click on that.
Live stream one text. Yeah, I'm in there.
Okay, yeah, I'll just post it again for you. See, like this would be like, just imagine those white lines, which are the latitude lines for this diagram. Just imagine those are the stars, right? And they're actually two sets of stars converging and diverging from each other, right? They go off their own directions, and then they come back and converge again through that middle area where there's an actual line that separates them. Yeah, like Geo posted. There'd be two actual star rotations.
The equator, the stars don't rotate in that equator; they move straight across.
Right.
He doesn't know what convergent divergent.
Stellarium shows them converging and diverging from stellarium.
I know what he's saying, but that's got nothing to do with what I'm saying, though. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, I'm not talking about what you're saying. I'm asking if you were aware of that.
When he said that, you said, I don't know what that means. He said they're convert. None of the Globers ever know what converging and diverging means.
No,
I have
know
to
what
explain
it
it
means.
to him every time we go over the star trails at the equator.
I just didn't understand what point he was making. Listen. I'm going to repeat what I said just a little while ago. I came in here. I found this server. MC Toon was on here a few weeks ago, and I came in here to see what was going on. And I've been in here a few times. I'm just trying to have a conversation. No one's going to change their mind. Okay, and it's asinine. I think that all of what you guys say is. I respect your opinion. I don't agree with it, but it's in my opinion, this is like the most basic stuff in the world that any little grade school kid can understand, that the Earth is a globe. But I'm not going to be able to change anyone's beliefs in this.
But Robert, you're coming in here with all kinds of presumptions, bro. You're presuming that nobody's going to listen to you, and that you just came in here to preach what you think is the truth. You're not going to change your mind about anything, even though there's other models that we just presented you an idea with that doesn't go along with your presumption about what all flat earthers think. We don't know exactly how it works. We're trying to figure it out. The only thing we all agree on is the globe model has been debunked. It will not work. Literally, scientifically, we can show you all kinds of ways that your belief is wrong. We can show you that, but you're not interested in looking at that. You just want to preach what you think is the truth, and you just want to say, oh, nobody can change anyone's mind. I'm just going to come in here, and if I can't say the mainstream is true and say that you guys are stupid, then I'm going to leave. That's what it sounds
like. I'll be honest with you. I don't even want to come in here anymore. It doesn't make sense. I came in here with a couple people I was talking to. They were kind of cool people, and I got along with them. But everyone yelling and screaming, it's pretty silly in my opinion. But like I said, you guys believe that the Earth is flat. That's what you believe.
No, I'm not believing the Earth is flat. If you go away with one thing, don't start saying that everywhere else. If you guys believe the Earth is flat, the only thing we have in common is we found out the globe doesn't work. No, it's not about belief in the flat Earth. Get that through your head. If you lead with one thing, don't ever say people believe the Earth is flat. That implies that we think we know what the whole thing is. Nobody knows what the whole thing is. You have your base axioms. We all experience locally. We all experience a stationary level Earth. You have to agree with that. That's all we can know. And then if you have a belief about a spinning ball, that's your belief. We got rid of a belief. It's the loss of a belief, not the gaining of a
new perspective. Number one, there's nothing that debunks the globe. Number two, yes, locally the Earth is flat because the Earth is very
what
big.
the?
Who's this asshole?
There you go with your presumptions. You just want to leave with your presumptions. You're not about to leave here doubting your globe. That's for sure.
Dude, let's just slow down for a second. Robert, it doesn't have to be a whole screaming thing. People do get heated, and to be honest, you were throwing a lot of darts at the beginning, so you're gonna get people flared up if you're talking a bit of that. But that's all right. Let's just bring it down.
I was trying to be respectful, saying I respect their opinion. I just said I respect their opinion. Doesn't mean I.
You're like, oh, I respect your opinion, but it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That's what you just.
Yeah,
let's just chill out. Robert, just go with your point. Let's just stick to the points. And
let me just say, you guys believe that stuff debunks the globe. There's nothing that debunks the globe. Of course, locally the Earth is flat because the Earth is such a large. The Earth is a very.
That's a fallacy of incredulity right there.
Just don't interrupt him. Let him just say his point, and then someone can.
The Earth is a very large object, so locally, of course, it appears flat. It only has an eighth of an inch curve for over 660 feet, which is negligible. So yeah, locally it looks flat. Of course, it looks flat. Nobody's denying that. Doesn't mean that it is. And all I'm saying is that throughout the course of the last 5 centuries, we've learned that the Earth is a globe. We have people in space. You can see it. You have pictures of the Earth from space. But no matter what anyone says, it's like you just can't win. So I'm sorry. I don't really even want to come in this server.
And you don't think everybody
here is Well, the thing is, all the thing is that the globe is a religious model. That's all it's been since the beginning of time. That is all they want. It was because it's all due to Greek religion and mythology. So believe on your globe as much as you want. Saying that nothing debunks it, that's just an incredulity fallacy that you have in your head.
What debunks the globe? I'd like to know what debunks it.
Robert, can I ask you one
the
quick
Earth
question?
debunks the globe. It doesn't. You have never measured the Earth to be a globe ever. When the words of measurement of drop over distance, bro. Where's it at?
A lot of people, when they first hear about this, though, they do instantly think, "Oh, it sounds like the dumbest thing they've heard," or they have that reaction. And then often it takes months and months for them of looking into it, and then they kind of open up over time and realize that the globe was false. So I mean, we have to like keep that in mind. I'm not trying to label him as that, but I'm just saying like he may be at that point. So or something.
We all used to believe the space pictures. We all used to think it was the stupidest thing, and he's assuming we never thought that. We just decided to think it's flat. That's just ridiculous. It's not a good assessment of anything that you come encounter with here. We all used to think like you did. Why do we not think that anymore? Because we realized it doesn't work. You're not interested in hearing why it doesn't work. The other night I was in here talking about planes. I'll send you another video I did from last night talking to a CERN physicist